I'm Joey.T.Cartoon.P and you're watching the Cartoon Palooza. Seriously, it's been 2 years and I haven't talked about Don Bluth? What, isn't it like one of the 10 geek commandments? Thou shalt talk about Don Bluth's rise and fall?
I guess it almost seems implied that we all know what he's all about. An ex-Disney animator who left to make his own movies. And for the most part, he succeeded. For the most part. Imagine if it was like Bluth saying, you know, Disney ain't doing it right. I'm gonna go make the movies they should be making and making them better. Like this. And this. And yeah, retirement's around the corner.
Well, if I can safely tell you that there's a movie that combines the best and worst of Don Bluth, it's gonna be All Dogs Go to Heaven.
All Dogs Go to Heaven. It's one of those eye-openers when you revisit the film after a long time. What seemed like a harmless, talking animal adventure flick becomes a wacky, bouncy, colorful tune with dozen overtones and characters with a lot of personality. Watching this movie is like speeding in a Ferrari and then realizing someone cut the brakes.
Wild card, bitches! Yeah!
So our movie begins with a breakout from a pound where we meet our main characters. Charlie is the smooth-talking con artist appropriately played by Burt Reynolds. His confidant is named Itchy, and yeah, guess which Don Bluth alum he's voiced by.
Oh, Charlie, it's you. I saw Scarface, and he was choking me. He was grabbing my neck, and I said, oh, hi, Charlie.
What, are Don Bluth and Dom DeLuise related or something? Is he like his long-lost Italian cousin and he's putting him in his movies to make up for something?
Anyways, we learned that when Charlie was away, his business partner Carface was taking over and wants full control of his bar. So in traditional kids movie fashion, he gets Charlie drunk and has him murdered on screen. Or at least this is traditional kids movie fashion in San Quentin. And then we see Charlie go to the pearly gates. However, Charlie is one of those characters badass enough to say, screw you, Eternity of Bliss, I want vengeance. Seriously, his reasons for leaving stems from the fact that he gets bored. You know, for a movie called All Dogs Go to Heaven, there really isn't that much of heaven. Anyway, he finds out that Carface has been using a girl who can talk to animals to win rigged races, which Charlie finds out and uses to get even and more.
I think the best way I could describe this character is imagine taking Snow White and making her 5 years old.
Oh, Charlie, Harold and Kate are really wonderful. They weren't upset about the wallet. They gave me real waffles with butter and syrup.
You know, come to think of it, that's the only way you can describe her.
Pretty much this movie shows Charlie caring for the little girl and Carface trying to get back at him for coming back from the dead.
Oh, what do you call that voice, little fella? That a baritone or a tenor?
It's,
Oh, I don't care. It's just you and me. Let's make music together.
Oh, and let's not forget that there's a singing alligator who shows up near the end of the film who has an infatuation with Charlie and even kills the villain.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said that this movie was weird.
One thing I'm reminded of when watching this movie again is I love dogs. If there's any indication as to why I'm a dog owner now, All Dogs Go to Heaven would have been one of those signs. It isn't even because the dogs act like dogs, but how much personality they're given. Hell, the human characters don't even have this much character as the dogs. I guess that's one of Bluth's strengths, is how well he can personify character into animals while being very exaggerated, not focusing on realism, something current studios should be taking note of. One example is Charlie. This is one of those occasions where the animator and the voice actor blend perfectly for a good character. On the surface, Charlie is a dick. He's always conniving and using people to a means of an end, all while showing that he's still soft and has some form of sympathy left. I really have no complaints with this character, and it makes sense why I loved him as a kid. It wasn't even the dialogue that was very memorable, but more in the physical actions of the character. Just watching one scene and he's always doing something with his hands, or paws, or whatever.
Thank you for rescuing me.
Sure. It was nothing, kid.
It's like taking an unlikable character and making him likable. Something of which most movies fail these days.
Is All Dogs Go to Heaven a cult classic or a classic in general? Well, saying it's an all-around classic is kind of a stretch. But around this time it was made lingering with a TV series, a holiday special, and an unfortunate subject for a future review. However, watching this film again, it's easy to say why this one would fall under the radar. Not to mention that the movie came out when Disney's 2D department started coming back with the Renaissance. There's also a lot of strange, surreal visual humor that only the late 80s and early 90s could supply us with.
And when I mean strange, I'm not just talking about creepy, run-of-the-mill stuff. I'm talking flat-out trippy.
Just in the film's color palette, which is imagining if bright colors managed to be dark and bleak at the same time. Not to mention that if it had to fill its quota of having random musical numbers, because, well, it's an animated film in the 90s, it has to. It's like watching a Fleischer cartoon from the 30s made in the late 80s, which was probably intentional. Forgot to mention that this movie takes place in the 30s, which is probably Bluth's self-respecting homage to the golden age of animation. There are even cartoon pinholes that transition from scene to scene. It becomes a little obvious. Would I recommend watching All Dogs Go to Heaven? Sure, I think the kids would get a kick out of the bouncy and colorful imagery despite how forgettable it can become in later years. The parents or guardians would even appreciate the jokes that might go over the kids' heads. Now, I don't want to come across as the old bitter man who watches cartoons and say that they were better in his day, but I do feel that there's a level of exaggeration that's lost in today's animated films. What? You think the Madagascar films are anywhere close to what Don Bluth was doing? Yeah, right. So yeah, I don't think that there's any harm to watching this one.
Well, I'm saying this because it's not the worst to come. Yeah. I'm Joey Tedesco, and thanks for watching this episode of the Cartoon Palooza.
Oh, you can't keep a good dog down.
No, sir.
No, you can't keep a good dog down. I've seen pain and hurt.
That's right.
I've eaten dirt.
That's true.
It's hard to buy, but even I've been jilted by a skirt.
He lied.
Look, pal, I'm still around. 'Cause you can't keep a good dog down.
You can't keep a good dog down.
No, you can't.
No, you can't keep a good dog down.
I've been bought and sold.
He's been warm and cold.
But